Hello, if you're new here, my name is Sean and I'm an ex-motorcycle chassis design engineer from the UK. Currently living in Japan, I'm no longer working in the motorcycle industry, but I continue to work on various motorcycle projects which I share right here on this channel. So if you're interested, please check out my channel and subscribe. Okay, some modifications for this motorcycle. Now, I find this motorcycle looks great from many angles, especially around the front. I'm actually a fan of these headlights over round headlights. I think round headlights should be reserved for more of a classic style, and this is not a classic style sports motorcycle. What they've done with the 1200 is interesting though. But the most polarizing point is this region here. I think this is the real reason why people have issues with the headlights. There's just a huge gap between the headlights and the headstock. It just looks like there's something missing, or it's just hanging off the front. And some people have addressed this with Photoshop. They move it back, but realistically, we can't really do that because we have no space to do that. When we go to full lock, we've got less than an inch clearance between the fork and a bolt on the headlight here. And also you've got cables routing around there, which we need to be careful of. So, the issue, in my opinion, has always been this exposed neck. So, I've come up with some modifications, some custom parts that I'm working on. I've shared some of them on my community page. If you want to follow, please do. But let's pull out some of my little prototypes and see if I can stick them on and see how it looks. I've been toying around with some ideas of how we can kind of fix this for my own perception anyway, for my own aesthetics. And it really means covering up this kind of neck area. And at first I was thinking to maybe mount something to the suspension that would just kind of come out a little bit, fill a bit of the space behind, and then maybe a little bit of the space at the front. And that might give enough cover over the headstock region and the neck that it would not look so strange. And then also maybe have something mounted to the side of the headlight. But I've had to reduce my thinking here because we have to think about packaging. So where the position of this headlight is right now is exactly where it needs to be. It cannot really be any further back. I've seen people have recognized that the problem is with this style, it looks like it's too far forward. So I've seen photoshopped images of the headlights that's been brought back. But when we look at the, well, if we look at lock to lock on the suspension, we're within an inch. Well, I can fit a finger between a bolt on the headlight and the front fork. There's no room to pull this back. Also, we have the cables, and they're coming right up to the dash. They're actually pulled back by a bunch of wire guides to make sure that they don't, rub too much and have damage. Yeah, you don't want to force them too much in a direction they don't want to be, because that's going to cause some damage as well. So, mounting something here, if I do, would be very small, very minimal, and I'm not sure it's really going to be very effective. I was going to come out here and take measurements of all this, the clearance, the offset of the yoke, and maybe model something up in CAD, but looking at it now, I think the solution, or what I'm going to have to go with for now, is going to be to mount something on the headlight and the inside of this panel here. And as a prototype, I'm probably just going to use something like some 4M tape, stuff that you use for like GoPro, mounting GoPros to helmets and stuff. Maybe make some mount tabs to stick onto some 4M tape, and then I can make a bunch of different versions to see if I can make something that I like. So if you can imagine, just going to have some kind of piece bonded on here to the back. It's going to look like a single piece going through, basically like a semi-fairing, top semi-fairing, which think some of you guys in the comments are also looking at doing for your own projects. So hopefully this could be an interesting one. I start with placing a top-down front and right side view of the motorcycle down as a canvas, and then using those scaled to try and create the 3D sketch geometry using extrusions and planes and projections. It's a simple part which will be developed going forward. This part took 1 hour to print, and that's just with a standard 3D printer. So my first concept was really to create a mount that's going to go on the forks here that would kind of shield and cover the headstock region, or this the intake that also secures the headlights and the dash. But because of the amount of clearance, or the limited amount of clearance you have there, there's really not much that we can do forward of the fork. We would only be shielding the rearward. So it was kind of a combination of a piece for here and a piece for the headlight, and then maybe some modifications around here later on. So I've been mocking up some pieces in CAD, and I printed my first piece just to kind of test the profile, because I'm kind of eyeballing this profile of the headstock, the headlight here. So this is the first piece that I printed, and I'm very happy with how close to the profile we got. It's just a case of whether we feel that that does anything for shielding the headstock region. It's kind of difficult for me to see from this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some 4M tape and I'm going to stick this on and see how it looks. Well, before sticking on with some 4M tape, I guess test with some normal sellotape, and it seems to be working. So we'll just put it on there temporarily like this, and then later on when I make some more functional prototypes, I'll create some mounts to actually stick this on properly. I'll probably make the mounts to stick onto the headlight with 4M tape, and then slot the different custom parts onto those mounts. You know, that'd be really cool. Once I get a more functioning prototype that I'm happier with, see if I can find a company that can actually injection mold these or something. See if I can make some kits available if people are interested, depending on how it turns out, of course. Okay, now obviously this is just a said prototype first print, trying to get the profile right, and I was very lucky to actually get it very close. I honestly just eyeballed this. See if we take that off. From the front, we're not really going to see it. I mean, it is going to be colored differently. Okay, so my previous idea had been, as I said, forks plus headlights. But actually, I'm now thinking this piece on the headlight, maybe I'll change the profile a little bit to kind of add in the lines. You see, they often talk about the lines on the design of these motorcycles. You see how the line of the tank up here comes in line with here. Everything is so kind of precisely thought out. So I want to kind of put that kind of thinking into this piece as well. So I want to create a kind of different profile from the side, different shape. And I'm also thinking to mount and attach another piece on the inner side here that's just going to come up a little bit. If you can, make sure we can avoid the forks, but see if we can just fill this gap a little bit. And maybe eventually in the future, if it develops, maybe it'll just be a single piece that comes between here and the headlight. But for now, maybe just a small piece that's going to stick out, almost like it's trying to connect it up. But this is my first prototype part for this. Need to work on the fitment, because I don't want to just be sticking it on with some tape or 4M tape or anything like that. I'm going to make some actual mounts and maybe use some clips to fit it. But I'm actually quite happy with this as like a first prototype, a first first go printing. I've at least got the profile correct, so I can just use the first part of this model now as I model the rest of it, so it's going to be really easy to make new versions. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you have any ideas of what else I should do with this, feel free to drop me in the comments and send us some sketches or something if you like. You can find me on Instagram as well. So I'm finally going to install my first upgrade on the Street Triple, and that is going to be a phone mount, because I am Captain Lost and I do get lost here in Japan. Now, the phone mount I've gone for is actually a stem mounted phone mount. It comes from a company called Rec Mount. This is, I believe it's designed and manufactured in Japan. And that's just going to go straight in here. I just need to adjust and tighten this bolt. And if this isn't big enough, there's a spare attachment or a replacement, which is a larger diameter. So I've always got that if it's not big enough. The reason I chose this one is because I don't really want to fuck about with the original bolts and the clamping here, because I know how much the engineers at Triumph will go through to make sure those clamping forces are, what they need. I don't want to mess around with that so much. I know a lot of people do install these brackets to mount phones here, but I'd personally rather not muck around with it. Also, I currently don't have a torque wrench, and if you don't really want to get a cheap torque wrench to do that, because they're often very inaccurate. So going for the stem mounted mount instead. So I'm just going to install that now. He's a Pocky Schneider. Now this does look very much like a quad lock mount. I'm not sure if it's a complete copy, like a rip-off, or whether it's an actual, whether it's actually engineered differently. But it has a pretty good reputation here in Japan, and they actually have a lot of products, a wide range of products for like bicycles and all sorts of other things. So I think the primary market for these was bicycles, and then they've moved on to motorcycles as well. Just need to make sure that's clamped up tight because it's got some movement in it. Seen a meme recently of someone riding a motorcycle with a calculator here, and I think that's more of a test of whether the mount is going to work rather than they're trying to calculate lean angles. Let's see how easy it is to put on. I see a lot of people fiddle around with this, so I need to get used to rid of this. Yeah, I think I'm all set for my journey.